calls himself a spiritual doctor. And for me, he's pretty much the man who saved my life. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know.
Should I give you context?
Yeah.
Okay. So before you called me, right?
Yeah.
So I have been wanting to be a musician, right? Like it was my dream to be a musician, and I had all these stages that I had coveted that I wanted to be on, and it just wasn't happening, right? And you're basically the first person who gave me a chance out of nowhere.
Wow.
And I came in and I did the thing.
And you're
but
amazing at
Was
it.
I amazing?
Yeah, you're amazing at it.
Thank you. I felt like it. Like the
How
room.
did I find? I don't even know how we.
You came to my church.
Oh.
And I was singing in the choir at PCI, and then we
remember.
connected on Twitter, and long story.
Totally remember. Cool.
But how you saved my life, or the trajectory of my life, was that in being part of your production, I realized I love it, but it's not
Not who you are.
It's not who I am.
It's good.
Did you know that? Did you see that?
I figured out like over time that you are cut out for a very different space and the journey that you're on now.
Jeez.
It proper makes sense. Like I look at it every time I think, what were you trying to do the whole time?
I know.
And because you're amazing at what you do. And you're very gifted even as a singer. So
Yeah.
it was not that you wouldn't have made a great musician.
Yeah.
You probably would have.
Yeah.
But I think everything's about what your calling is, right?
Exactly.
And your purpose in life. Because
Yeah.
we all have different gifts. I do other things. I play soccer with the
But
boys
you're
now, just at home in the backyard. But I wouldn't do that for a living.
For a living, yeah.
Even if I had an opportunity to, because I think part of growing up is really realizing what your assignment is.
Yeah.
And I think we mature to that point where we know, oh, this is my assignment.
But I'm grateful that I think in a way you released me. And I don't know if you remember any of the conversations we had, because you're obviously interacting with a lot of people,
Yeah.
but I'll try sneak in a question here and
Yeah.
there. And I remember saying to you, one day, do you promise you're going to write a song for my album? So I saw that happening. But since
You should
saying...
still do it, though. I think you should have I also think that gifts must be explored, right?
100%.
So if you can, and if you find the time, if it
Yeah.
doesn't steal away from your peace and
Yeah.
you know, because it has its own thing.
It has its own...
Right.
I think it's got its own place. But now going back, I want to know from our conversations, did you ever see this moment?
It's a beautiful unfolding.
Okay.
Yeah. I maybe because you were a musician in my head.
It's just like I was
That's all
a
I
singer.
saw.
Yeah.
So I thought you'd evolve to that.
Yeah.
But like when this started happening and it started growing and growing and growing, I thought, oh yeah,
That makes sense.
she was meant for this. So
Yeah.
it's also I think people are just wired different, man. And I
Yeah.
think our journey takes different paths and none of it is a waste.
None of it is
Because
a waste.
every bit of it builds into who we are.
Yeah.
Helps us make certain decisions, helps us make certain turns.
Yeah.
So perhaps it was a necessary path for
I
you to
think it
make a
was-
certain turn.
It was definitely necessary. I mean, the when I got my payment, because it wasn't free. We got
wasn't
paid.
free.
It was a good night. It was a nice payment for me. And like, I think I'm like 23 and this comes in my account, like, huh? And what that taught me, I looked at that and I was like, if this is what I'm getting, what is he getting? I want to be that person. I want to be a doctor in my own field. But I just
Man,
wanted to make...
You've done well.
I want to say
You've done
thank
so
you
well.
publicly for seeing me and for giving me that
I'm
opportunity.
grateful. You know what's one of the most beautiful things to watch is to want to hear a person say, you contributed to my journey.
Yeah.
And it's heartwarming when their journey is really amazing. 'Cause
Yeah.
like you just think, oh wow, I'm
Yeah.
glad I played a little
played a part.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just seeing people get into their own space and
Yeah.
do that well. Because I think I've learned in life that everybody has a role to play.
Yeah.
Everyone has a way that they need to impact society and change people's lives. I'm particularly glad when what a person does adds value to people's
value,
lives.
yeah.
And you do that well. So
Thank you.
You have done well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I think just to close off the complimenting, because we're just going back and forth, is I think the most beautiful thing about your gift is that you haven't duplicated yourself. You don't make people want to be like you. You make people want to be more of themselves. And that is not something everybody understands.
I don't want to be like anybody.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest lessons that I've learned quite early was you cannot beat a person at being themselves.
Nope.
So
Be
I'm going to
yourself.
beat you every time if you try to be me.
Yeah, it's like I'm always
it
gonna
comes
be number-
naturally. I'm always going to be
there's
number one.
effort, yeah.
The way I think, the way I process things, the way I write, the way I sing.
Yeah.
God made us so unique that everybody literally sits in a space all by themselves.
Yeah.
And
You can only thrive in that space.
you can only thrive, and you're number one at that
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
So when a person finds that space where they are number one and they're them, it's just the most beautiful thing to watch. Like, keep it going. man.
Miraculous.